Hello traders, welcome back. We'll go ahead and take a look at the SPY today. I wanted to make a video since we are getting a little bit of a correction here. I've been giving updates on Twitter saying I'm pretty bullish and giving our bull bear line in the sand, but right now the 5-day trend in the yellow there has shifted down, and so let's just take a look closer here. There's a few key areas of interest that I'm looking at. The first is the VWAP from this low, and it has been held multiple times here, and it continued to hold on Friday. So that's our short-term support right there at about 363, 364. And so as long as we're above that, we're okay. If we do happen to break that, come Monday, come Tuesday, whatever, then we can go ahead and come down here, which has been held about 5 or 6 times here, and that's going to line up with this support here. So we gapped up and we found support right about here, and you can see that that was support many times there, and we finally gapped over it, and this time that's when we really held and went on our way. So if we were to come test this 359.60, it's going to line up right about with that anchored VWAP right there. And that's kind of the big line in the sand, guys. If we happen to get a daily close below this and we get follow through selling the next day, right? We get maybe come up and retest it, and we get that lower high and we continue down. I mean, that's going to bring us down here, guys, probably 350. So that's going to be a really ugly look if we do end up losing that level. On the bull side, we have the month-to-date VWAP here and the week-to-date from last week, so last Monday. You can see when we finally lost the month-to-date VWAP, we had this really strong consolidation, and it was met with supply. So this is, guys, this is the key area here. It's going to come in about 367.50, 368. If we can manage to start holding above that area again, I think that we can, potentially see a nice rally. What this would look like is maybe come up here, get some consolidation, or even a gap up Monday. But likely we'll come up here if this were to happen, and we'll get a pullback. And so then what we have to get is obviously some sort of bull flag consolidation, something like that, and then it would look for the breakout. If we turn on the daily moving averages here, this is also the 20-day moving average, and just like we were looking at the 350, that's right where the 50-day moving average is at. So be really careful, guys. The 5-day trend is down, the longer term trend is up. We need more confirmation on this smaller term chart to really go bullish on stuff again, and so caution should continue to be used. We're definitely not out of the thick of it yet, and there's a possibility for more downside, but I like our chances if we can get back above this 368 and then get some sort of base. And during this holiday seasonality, there's a good chance that we would just float upwards. And if I can get a there's a seasonality thing on here somewhere. Well, oh, here we go. Give me 1 sec here. 1 second. So yeah, you can see seasonality at the end of the year is typically really bullish. So 68% of December's, we're getting bullish activity. 75% of November's, we're getting bullish activity. We can see November clearly followed that pattern. And, I don't see any reason why December wouldn't follow that pattern, but getting above this 367.50 area is key for that pattern to work out for me. Price has to confirm what seasonality usually says. So that's kind of my update on the SPY here. Maybe we can look at a couple different stocks. Tesla's a big one with the S&P inclusion coming up, and I think it's on a lot of people's watch lists here. It looks a lot like the SPY. It's in a bit of a stronger position, but it's similar. It has a 5-day trend moving down. Ever since this gap up, you can see that we got below it and just have failed to hold above that. We haven't gotten above and flagged or anything like that. So that's the key for me to watch on Tesla on the upside. Right around 621. That's going to be the 5-day moving average and that anchored VWAP there. If it does get above and actually holds 5 or 621, then I'm looking for Tesla to probably go on a little bit of a run. I think up in this area here, around 640, 642 is going to be first. It did put in an after hours high. Let me make sure I got this correct real quick. It put in an after hours high at 669 the other day, never went and tested it. So do we come up into the 660s perhaps? It's possible. It's possible we get to 660, 665. I don't know. That it's definitely possible, but yeah, the setup, it has to get over 621 here. But one thing I really like on Tesla and why I'd probably lean a bit more bullish as long as we get that confirmation is it had a stock offering and it got bought. And so it got bought strong off this anchored VWAP. I put them off breakout areas that are high volume. So these two are kind of the breakout areas. You can see every time it comes down here, they're really huge wicks. I think this is a fake wick here, but really huge wicks, and it gets bought really fast. It's usually a sign of strength and usually a sign that something wants to go higher. And so if it does give us this confirmation, I'm definitely bullish on Tesla for the short term. We'll have to see what the reaction is after the S&P inclusion and kind of what the market's looking like at that point. Tesla's kind of trading on its own right now, but after the S&P inclusion, it may start to trade with the market if the market's tanking. So that's something to definitely keep an eye on. If Tesla does begin to sell off under this area, we're really looking at it to come. I don't think this would happen. I really don't think so. With how strong its trend is. Let's just see where the 20-day is. So the 20-day is also down here. So yeah, guys, I think 550, 560 is going to be really hard to get through. I really don't see that happening. But maybe if it comes down and has spent some consolidation here, it's certainly possible. And I think we're looking at a pretty sizable drop if that happens. I mean, I think we can come down to this pivot 540, but possibly lower down to this at 520, 515, hell, maybe 500. I don't know. But that's really far away, and that's not really what I'm expecting. I'm expecting some bullish activity because of what's been happening and the reaction to the stock offering and just the likely hype that's going to come before the S&P inclusion. So those are my thoughts on Tesla. Another one I've been watching is ROKU. I actually made a trade on this, and this one's been really, really bullish and very strong 5-day moving average. That's short term is looking great. It's just looking super great. And when it came down here this day, this was when the market gapped down and they got bought up really hard at the open, and it came up here and it held its gains so well. And if you put the VWAP from that low right here, and we'll just remove this, you can see that it was holding above it really nicely, flagging, and then it gets really tight here. And this is exactly what I love to see on any trade that I'm looking for. A strong short-term trend that's also has a strong long-term trend. Some sort of higher low, higher high, or a big move off of a low, and then it finally gets over. So this represents the average seller from this point. So all these sellers, when we start to get up here, they're fighting, they're maybe getting out at break even, they're getting stopped out. And then finally it starts to move away. It gets really tight here, and then it starts to move away, and this is usually a really good entry. And this works for any time frame, right? It could be a swing trade, it could be on a smaller chart like this for a day trade. And I love this on high short float stocks. Roku doesn't have the highest float right now, but it works. Anyone that was short here, they have to exit, and as a result of that, they're going to be buying the stock, and so yeah, it turned into a really nice trade. I do see, it's really extended, but I don't see any reason that this can't keep running as long as it's above, well, right around here, 318, preferably more like 320, 321. I think there's a pretty important pivot around, yeah, around here, somewhere in this zone. So maybe a little higher, 322 to 325. I think if we come down, test that, and see resumption, this can actually continue into next week. And it doesn't have to happen. Have to keep an eye on the market. But Disney reported really strong numbers, and I'm not sure when Roku. Yeah, they don't have earnings anytime soon. But yeah, it's looking strong. Like I said, I don't see any reason why it can't keep going up as long as it's holding that area. Let me think. Any other good stocks we can cover? Let's check out PayPal. I know there's a decent setup in this. So yeah, it did kind of break down. We might be looking at a move lower on PayPal. That one's definitely in a tough spot. It does have this nice resting candle here, so what I'll say, it's a really nice candle there. And there's actually a few stocks that have this. So it came off the lows here, and after coming off the lows, the majority of the volume has been spent in the upper half. And so this was an inside day, comes down, it gets bought, and it finishes on the high of the day. So if Roku can get, if PayPal can get back above here and start holding, there's potential that it's going to go to new all-time highs. Really what it's got to do, it's got to get above these. It really just has to get above the highs. But what you want to look for here is a nice move up and then a pullback to about 215. And just like we saw on Roku, come back up to the top, get really, really tight on like a 30-minute time frame or even like an hourly time frame. And then you just want to see these highs pop. And that could be a really nice entry for a momentum move. So something to watch on PayPal. And then I'm just going to show real quick a few more stocks that have had these really nice resting days. TTD is one of them. This is a really, really nice one here. TTD has been on fire, and this is a really important thing here. It had a power earnings gap, and so that's when there's a huge amount of volume. It's typically accumulation, and typically the stock will close near or on the high of the day. I like it to be in the upper, either in the upper 2/3, or it can just be a large gap that maybe closes poorly, but then afterwards it's holding around the same price for a few days, getting accumulated. It's usually a really strong sign that big money likes whatever the earnings had to say, and that people are accumulating it at a higher price. It's a big sign of strength. And so although TTD has come a really long way, as we can see, it's really strong right now. Ever since we had this gap, this was a really nice setup, by the way. We had this big high volume gap. We held below the view up for a few days. We popped it, and then boom, huge run. Huge run. And so this is a really good setup here. It could be a 3-bar play. I'm not sure if it'll play out, but move it to your strategy if it's something that you like. We had this big move all the way back up, and then we had a tight, narrow range day here closing in the top half. My expectation is that if TTD breaks Friday's highs, we're going to see another big run in it. Definitely one to watch. And just also noticing that since it really started going, it gets bought, and then bought again, all at the same place. There's nothing weak about it as of right now. Shop, very similar. Sorry, was it shop? Wow, this is a mess. So, okay, shop's not quite as similar. Shop's one to watch though. Shop's one to watch. It has a really nice trend right now. God, sorry, indicators. So yeah, if you just ignore the mess here, shop's area of interest is about 1070 here. But what really has to happen is it has to get over this high at about, looks like about 1108, 1110, somewhere in there. Might just keep an alert if shop does do that. This is a really big consolidation, guys, and if you look at it from a longer perspective, maybe it's a bull flag, maybe it's not. But if it is a bull flag, maybe it gets tied up in here for a week or two, and then it pops that 1110 area. This could go on a really massive run, guys. Shop makes big moves, so another one to really keep an eye on. Don't want to make this too long, so that's going to be it. I hope you guys got some sort of value on it and are a little more prepared for next week. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.